Have you ever discovered a secret so loud it silenced you? Maren stands in the doorway of Labor Room 7 in downtown Houston, one hand resting on her pregnant belly. The antiseptic smell burns her nostrils. Monitors beep a steady rhythm down the hallway. Bright hospital light washes everything clean and clinical, but what she sees is anything but clean. Her husband Corbin leans over a hospital bed, pressing his mouth to another woman's forehead. The woman, dark hair, exhausted eyes, hospital gown slipping off one shoulder, clutches a newborn against her chest. The baby cries, a soft mewling sound that cuts through the corridor noise. Maren's wedding ring suddenly feels heavy. Too heavy. A nurse brushes past her into the room. Dad, you want to try holding him again? Dad. Maren reads the chart hanging at the foot of the bed. The baby's last name jumps out at her. Harwood. The same last name Corbin took when they married because hers sounded better for business. Everything she thought she knew collapses in one breath. 6 months ago, Corbin traced lazy circles over her own belly in their bed, the sheets still warm, his voice thick with promises. You're my whole world, March. Just you and this baby girl. That's all I need. She looks at him now with the other woman. His hand cups the back of her head the exact same way. The same tenderness. The same lie. Most women would scream. Most would storm in and flip that hospital bed. Maren feels the rage rise hot in her throat, but something colder takes over. Something sharper. She doesn't make a sound. Instead, she steps backward from the doorway. Her hand slips into her coat pocket. She slides her wedding ring off, slowly, deliberately, and drops it into the fabric instead of throwing it at his head. Then she turns her back and walks away. Would you walk in and confront them, or walk away and plan something else? Most wives would have screamed. Maren chose something far more dangerous. She chose silence. She walks through the hospital corridor on autopilot. Her sneakers squeak against the polished floor. Nurses pass her, pushing carts, checking tablets, living their normal Thursday night. Nobody notices the woman whose life just shattered. The elevator takes forever. When the doors finally open to the parking garage, cold air hits her face. She welcomes it. Anything to feel something other than numb. Her reflection stares back at her from the car window. No makeup. Loose t-shirt over maternity jeans. Hair pulled into a messy bun. She looks like a stranger. Inside her belly, their daughter moves. A small kick against her ribs, like a reminder. This choice isn't just about pain anymore. It's about survival. It's about making sure her child never learns that staying silent in the face of betrayal is the same as accepting it. Maren unlocks her phone. Her thumb hovers over Corbin's name in her contacts. She could call him right now. Scream. Demand answers. Ask him how long he's been lying. Ask him if he ever loved her at all. But she doesn't. She scrolls past his name and keeps going until she finds a contact she hasn't used in 2 years. Mom. Her finger hovers over the call button. The memory rushes back unbidden. 3 weeks ago in their townhouse. Corbin insisted on keeping the lights low when they made love. He talked about their future empire, about the properties they'd flip together, about how their daughter would grow up strong and smart. His hands moved over her body with such certainty, such ownership. He was building his empire, all right, just not with her alone. Maren hits call. The phone rings once, twice. Maren? Her mother's voice is crisp, alert despite the late hour. What's wrong? I need to come to Seattle, Maren says. Her voice doesn't shake. Surprises her. Tonight. What happened? Corbin cheated. The words taste like metal. He has a whole other life. A baby. And he still thinks he's the one with money. Silence on the other end. Then, get on a plane. We're bringing in Tova. If you found out your partner had a whole other life, would you demand answers instantly, or disappear and let them feel the loss later? Tell me in the comments. The night she stopped pretending to be broke was the same night she stopped pretending to be weak. Maren sits in her car under the harsh garage lighting, phone pressed to her ear. In Seattle, her mother Rhea stands in her glass-walled office overlooking dark water and city lights. She grips her phone with the kind of controlled fury Maren recognizes from childhood. The fury that built empires instead of burning them down. "Tell me everything," Rhea says. Maren does. Labor room 7. The baby with Corbin's last name. The woman he called a client. The nurse who called him dad. "How long have you suspected?" "Months." Maren closes her eyes. "Maybe longer. Weird charges on our accounts. Trips that didn't add up. He always had an explanation that made me feel crazy for asking." "You're not crazy. You're married to a liar." Rhea's voice turns business sharp. "Does he know you saw him tonight?" "No. I walked away before he noticed me." "Good." A pause. "Maren, it's time to stop hiding who you are. He married a woman he thought needed him. He has no idea what's coming." Maren remembers all those nights in bed when Corbin used to tease her. "Rich girls with trust funds," he'd say, running his fingers down her spine. "They're the worst. Never work for anything. Never appreciate what they have." She'd laughed along. Her family's fortune hidden under her quiet life. Her non-profit salary. Her simple clothes. She thought she was keeping the peace. She thought she was building something real with someone who loved her for her. Not her last name. She was wrong. "I'll call Tova," Rhea says. Tova is their Manhattan attorney. The one who handles hostile takeovers and billion-dollar contracts. She'll start pulling everything. Bank records. Property deeds. Phone records. Everything he thinks he hid. "I don't want to destroy him," Maren says softly. "You don't have to. He destroyed himself." Rhea's tone softens just slightly. "But you need to protect yourself and that baby. Get on a plane tonight. Bring nothing he can trace." Maren looks down at her belly. Her daughter kicks again, stronger this time. "Okay. One more thing," Rhea says. "Bring no cards. Have you ever hidden your real power just to keep the peace in a relationship? Was it worth it?" Share below. While Corbin posted #BlessDad at a Houston hospital, his meek wife boarded a first-class seat under another name. Maren books the red-eye to Seattle using her full legal name, Maren Kincaid Harwood. The name that appears on tech campuses across 3 states. The name Corbin never asked about because she never offered it. First class is nearly empty. She settles into the wide seat, accepts water from the flight attendant, and waits for takeoff. As the plane climbs above Houston's sprawling lights, she powers on her tablet. The family's encrypted financial system loads slowly. She hasn't logged in since before the wedding. She used to review grant proposals for her nonprofit work, tracking money for women's shelters and education programs. She knows how to read a budget. She knows how to spot fraud. She just never thought to look at her own marriage. The cabin lights dim. Around her, passengers sleep or scroll their phones. Maren opens their joint account. The one Corbin insisted they set up for transparency. Transaction after transaction fills the screen. Luxury condo rent in downtown Houston. Monthly payments to an address she's never visited. Jewelry shipments. High-end baby furniture delivered to zip codes she doesn't recognize. Flights to Miami, Chicago, Atlanta, cities Corbin claimed were for work. Her heart doesn't race. It goes cold. She remembers him last month, tracing his thumb over her engagement ring in bed, his voice low and intimate. "We're building from nothing together, March. Just you and me. No family money. No shortcuts. That's what makes it real." He said it while lying on sheets she paid for, in a townhouse her trust subsidized, eating food bought with cards connected to accounts he never questioned. She screenshots everything. The luxury rent. The out-of-state charges. The jewelry that never came home to her. She forwards it all to Tova with one line. "Start here." Her daughter kicks, and Maren rests her hand over the spot. "We're going to be okay," she whispers. "We're going to be better than okay." Have you ever checked a shared account and found a charge that made your heart stop? What was it? Comment if you've been there. Corbin married a woman he thought needed him. He never checked whose name was on the skyscrapers she pretended not to notice. Morning light breaks over Elliott Bay as Maren stands barefoot in her mother's condo. Floor-to-ceiling windows frame the water, the city, the mountains beyond. Fog lifts in slow ribbons. Seagulls will against gray sky. She used to visit this place every summer as a kid. After her father died, Rhea poured everything into building what he started: tech campuses, energy projects, warehouse networks across the West Coast. Maren inherited half when she turned 25. She never touched it, never talked about it. Just let it grow quietly in accounts Corbin never knew existed. Rhea sets paperwork across the marble kitchen island. Grant agreements, property titles, investment portfolios. The numbers are staggering even to Maren. "You're worth more than he'll make in 3 lifetimes," Rhea says simply. "And he spent the last 5 years acting like he was doing you a favor by staying." Maren's hand rests on her belly. Her daughter moves, a slow roll under her palm. Tova appears on the laptop screen, joining by video from Manhattan. She's sharp-eyed and efficient, already 3 steps ahead. "I pulled the prenup. Did you read it before you signed?" "He said it was just paperwork." Maren's voice is flat. She remembers that night, the hotel suite in Houston, the night before their wedding. Corbin had framed it as protection for both of them. "He kept kissing me between pages, made it seem romantic, like we were partners. He acknowledged you as financially independent," Tova says, scrolling through the document on her screen. "He thought he was shielding his properties from you. He had no idea you were shielding an empire from him." Maren recalls their first time together years ago. A cheap motel on Houston's south side because he said he wanted to give her everything someday. She'd fallen for his sincerity, for his big plans and rough hands and promises to build a life together. She'd already built that life. She just hadn't told him. "Can we use this?" Rhea asks, leaning toward the screen. Tova's smile is sharp. "Absolutely. This prenup becomes his worst nightmare the second we reveal her true net worth. Every joint account he touched, every purchase he made, every lie he told about struggling together. It all flips." Maren looks out at the city. Somewhere down there, people are starting their normal Friday. Coffee runs, work meetings, believing their partners when they say they'll be home late. "What do we do next?" she asks. Tova's pause is deliberate. "That depends. Do you want to destroy him? Or do you want him to understand exactly who he played? Do you think she was wrong for hiding her wealth? Or was she protecting herself? Whose side are you on so far, Maren's, Corbin's, or nobody's?" He wrote the rules of the game, never dreaming they would be used against him. The conference room overlooks downtown Seattle. Glass towers reflect morning light. Inside, Rhea, Maren, and Tova sit around a polished table covered in printouts and highlighted documents. Digital signatures glow on the screen mounted to the wall. Tova taps a clause on page 4 of the prenup. "Read this section." Maren leans closer. The language is dense, written by some lawyer Corbin hired 5 years ago. But the meaning becomes clear. Corbin acknowledged Maren as financially independent at the time of marriage. He waived claims to any assets she brought into the union. "He thought he was protecting his properties," Tova explains. "His rental units, his flips, his empire. He assumed you had nothing worth protecting." Maren remembers that night before the wedding. Houston hotel suite. White sheets. Corbin had spread the prenup across the bed. His shirt half unbuttoned. His cologne filling the room. "Just paperwork, babe. Protects us both. You sign here, I sign there, and we move on with our lives." He'd kissed her between explanations. Turned each page into foreplay. Made her feel like signing was just another step toward forever. Not a legal maneuver. She'd trusted him completely. "What does this mean now?" Maren asks. Rhea answers. "It means every dollar he spent from your joint accounts, the accounts you funded, becomes leverage. He used your money to support another woman, to rent her apartment, to buy her jewelry. That's not just betrayal. That's theft." Maren's hand moves to her belly. Her daughter shifts inside her, restless. "We can freeze the accounts," Tova continues. "Challenge his spending. Demand full disclosure. And because of this clause, he can't claim he's entitled to a dime of your family wealth. He signed away that right thinking you were nobody." The irony sits heavy in the room. Corbin wanted control. He wanted to feel like the provider, the one with power. So he wrote a prenup that would keep Maren's hands off his modest properties. He never imagined she was sitting on a fortune that made his portfolio look like pocket change. He played himself, Rhea says quietly. Maren looks out at the city. Somewhere down there, people are making coffee, heading to work, trusting their partners. She used to be one of them. So what's next? She asks. Tova leans back, fingers tented. That depends on you. Do you want to destroy him? Or do you want him to understand exactly who he played? Have you ever signed something in a relationship just to keep the mood calm? Would you sign a prenup out of love? Or refuse on principle? They didn't meet at a party or online. Their story began beside a casket. 5 years earlier, Houston in August. Gray sky pressing down on damp cemetery grass. Maren stands in a black dress that clings in the humidity, holding a program for a colleague she barely knew but felt obliged to honor. The funeral is for someone from the nonprofit world, a grants coordinator who died too young. She's trying not to cry, not because she's devastated, but because death always makes her think of her father, of loss, of how quickly everything can vanish. Someone touches her elbow. She turns. The man is tall, slightly rumpled in a dark suit. His tie loosened at the throat. He holds 2 paper cups of coffee. You look like you need this more than I do. She takes the cup. Their fingers brush. The coffee is terrible, burnt and weak. But the gesture is kind. I'm Corbin, he says. I did some repair work on her house last year. Felt wrong not to show up. Maren, she replies. I worked with her on a housing project. They stand together as the service drones on. Somewhere a pastor talks about heaven and peace. Maren stops listening. She focuses on the warmth of the coffee cup in her hands, the presence of this stranger who somehow makes the day feel less heavy. At the gathering afterward, Corbin stays close. His hand settles at the small of her back as he guides her through the crowded community center. It feels protective, natural, like he's been doing it for years. He makes her laugh with a story about fixing a crooked door frame. His eyes linger on her lips when she smiles through her tears. She feels something shift, a pull she hasn't felt in months. Can I take you to dinner sometime? He asks as people start to leave. She should say no. She doesn't know him, but grief makes people vulnerable. And he looks at her like she matters, like she's more than just another face in the crowd. Okay, she whispers. Back in the present. In Seattle, Maren scrolls through old photos on her phone. She finds one from that funeral day, Corbin's first smile, genuine and warm in the parking lot afterward. She swipes to the next image in her camera roll. His latest social media post. Him holding the newborn. Same smile, different lie. Have you ever met someone on the worst day of your life and felt a spark anyway? Did it feel wrong, or like a lifeline? He sold her a story of struggle and partnership, and she paid for it with trust instead of cash, at least at first. The early dates blur together in Maren's memory now, but back then each one felt special. Cheap diners with vinyl booths and bottomless coffee. Late-night drives through Houston neighborhoods where Corbin pointed out properties he wanted to flip someday. I slept in my car for 6 months, he told her one night, his hand on her knee as they sat parked outside a half-finished townhouse. Showered at the gym. Saved every dollar. That's what it takes to build something real. She believed him. His rough palms told a story of hard work. His detailed plans about renovations and rental income sounded ambitious but achievable. He talked about wanting a small, solid life, nothing flashy, just stable. I don't need a mansion, he said, leaning closer. I just need someone who gets it. Someone who won't bail when things get hard. Their first kiss happened right there under a streetlight with dust from construction sites coating his dashboard. Maren felt like she'd found something rare. A man who valued effort over appearance. Who wanted partnership over luxury. She didn't mention her family money. Didn't talk about the trust fund or the properties in Seattle. She wanted him to see her, just her, not her last name or her portfolio. Looking back, she can spot the small tells. The way his stories about past deals grew more elaborate each time he told them. How he'd dodge questions about certain business trips. The moments his phone would light up with messages he'd quickly silence. But she chose belief over doubt. Chose trust over suspicion. Their first night together was clumsy and sweet. Nervous laughter. Fumbling with buttons in his bedroom. His rough palms against her skin as he whispered that he'd never known anyone like her. That she made him want to be better. She remembers feeling safe. Wanted. Seen. Now, in Seattle, she closes her eyes and asks herself the question that's been haunting her. Was he lying from day one? Or did something change along the way? Would you rather have someone who promises the world or someone who promises a small life but actually shows up? Which one usually wins? The first lie didn't sound like a lie. It sounded like ambition. 2 years into their marriage. The Houston townhouse they share is modest. Maren insisted on keeping things simple. Corbin's laptop is always open to some property listing site. His phone buzzes constantly with what he calls client emergencies. Maren starts noticing things. Hotel charges in cities that don't match his travel schedule. A receipt for jewelry she never received. Calls he takes in the other room, his voice dropping to a whisper. "You're being paranoid," he says when she brings it up. He's slicing vegetables at the kitchen counter. Shirtless because it's summer and the air conditioning barely works. "Babe, I'm building a business. That means weird hours and last-minute trips. You know this." She wants to believe him, but her work at the nonprofit taught her to spot inconsistencies in budgets, and their personal accounts are starting to look suspicious. "Who's calling you at midnight?" she asks one night. "A contractor in Chicago. Time zones, March. Come on." He pulls her close, pressing her against the refrigerator. His mouth finds hers, rough and insistent. He knows how to turn arguments into something else. How to make her forget her questions by reminding her body of better moments. She lets it happen. Lets the topic drop. Again. Corbin grows more controlling about money. He insists they use shared credit cards for everything. Transparency, he calls it. We're partners. No secrets. But he has secrets. She can feel them in the space between his words, in the way he angles his phone away from her, in the cologne that sometimes smells unfamiliar when he comes home late. Back in Seattle, present day, Maren sits with Tova as they review another cluster of suspicious charges. "Look at this," Tova says, pointing at the screen. "A luxury high-rise in downtown Houston. Monthly rent paid from your joint account. In Alina's name. Has anyone ever made you feel crazy for asking simple questions? Did they calm you with charm instead of answers? Every affair has an address. She just never expected it to be paid for with her signature. Computer screens glow in the Seattle condo. Tova has pulled wire transfers going back 2 years. Each one tells part of a story Maren never knew she was funding. Monthly rent, $3,200, sent to a property management company for a high-rise apartment downtown Houston. Tenant name, Alina Reeves. He's been paying for her place for 18 months. Tova says, scrolling through the records. Using the joint account you set up for household expenses. Maren's stomach turns. She remembers agreeing to that account. Corbin had framed it as practical. Groceries, utilities, shared costs. She'd never thought to audit it because she trusted him. More charges appear. Jewelry shipments to Miami. A payment to someone in Chicago labeled consultation fee. That looks more like hush money. Flowers delivered to addresses Maren has never visited. How many women? Maren asks quietly. At least 3 that we can track, Tova replies. Maybe more. Each transaction feels like a punch. Not just because of the betrayal, but because of the method. He used her money, made her complicit without her knowledge, turned her into the unknowing sponsor of his lies. Tova pulls up a landlord database. There's Corbin's photo, smiling in a blazer, listed as an approved tenant reference for Alina's apartment. He looks proud, successful, like a man taking care of his woman. Maren imagines him in that high-rise, decorating it with Alina, promising her a future while his pregnant wife sat at home clipping coupons and wondering why their budget always felt tight. She remembers him pressing her against their bare townhouse wall years ago, promising they'd upgrade someday, when his deals closed. Meanwhile, he was already living the upgrade, just not with her. "What else do you have?" Maren asks. Tova's expression turns serious. "Security footage from the hospital. The exact time you stood outside labor room 7. If you found out your partner used shared money to fund a whole second life, should that be a crime or just grounds for divorce? What do you think?" The moment that shattered her life was caught on camera, from more angles than she knew. Tova's Manhattan office sits high above the city. Glass walls, leather chairs, the kind of space that makes decisions feel official. Maren stands in front of a large screen mounted to the wall. Grainy black and white security footage loads slowly. "Are you sure you want to watch this?" Tova asks. Maren nods. She needs to see it. All of it. The footage shows the hospital hallway from above. Timestamp reads the night everything changed. Maren watches herself appear on screen. Small figure in a loose coat, one hand on her belly, moving slowly toward labor room 7. On screen, she stops in the doorway. Freezes. The angle captures what she saw inside. Corbin leaning over the hospital bed, his hand cradling Alina's face, the newborn between them. Maren watches herself stand there for what feels like forever but is only 40 seconds. She looks tiny, broken, like someone watching their entire world cave in and having no words for it. A nurse glances toward the doorway. Her eyes widen slightly when she spots Maren. She doesn't say anything, just looks away quickly, like she knows she's witnessing something private and painful. "I look so small," Maren whispers. Rhea, standing beside her, squeezes her shoulder. "You're not that person anymore." The footage continues. Corbin kisses Alina's temple. Soft, intimate, the exact gesture he used on Maren the night they found out they were expecting. She remembers that moment in their bedroom. His lips pressed to her forehead, his hand on her stomach. "We're going to be amazing parents," he'd said. He used the same move, the same tenderness, like he had a script and just swapped out the actress. Watching it now, from this angle, Maren feels something shift inside her. The hurt is still there, but it's colder, sharper, more like fuel than poison. "Wait," Tova says, pausing the video. She zooms in on Corbin's face. For one split second, his gaze flicks toward the doorway. His eyes meet the camera angle that would have shown him exactly where Maren stood. "He saw me," Maren breathes. "He knew you were there," Tova confirms. "And he kept going." The realization hits like cold water. This wasn't an affair she accidentally discovered. This was a performance he chose to continue even after he knew she was watching. Maren steps back from the screen. She doesn't want to see herself looking small and shattered anymore. She never wants to be that version of herself again. If you saw a replay of the worst moment of your relationship, would you watch it or shut it off? Why? He didn't just cheat. He watched his wife see it and chose to keep going. Late afternoon light bounces off the glass buildings outside Tova's office. Inside, Maren sits with the security footage still paused on the screen behind her. Her reflection overlaps with Corbin's frozen face. "Why hasn't he called?" Maren asks. "It's been days since the hospital. He knows I saw him. Why the silence?" Tova leans against her desk. "Because silence is a strategy. If he reaches out first, he admits guilt. If he waits, he controls the narrative. He's gambling that you'll either come crawling back or blow up publicly. Either way, he wins sympathy." Rhea adds, "He's calculating. Always has been." Maren thinks back to the last time Corbin came home from one of his business trips. It was 2 weeks before the hospital. He'd been unusually intense that night, pulling her close the moment he walked through the door, kissing her like he was making up for something. In bed, he'd been almost frantic with energy, hands everywhere, words pouring out about how much he loved her, how lucky he was. She'd thought it was passion. Now she knows it was guilt. "What does this mean for custody?" Maren asks. "For the divorce?" "It means he knew you discovered the affair and chose not to address it," Tova explains. That's abandonment of the marriage. It strengthens your position significantly. A judge won't look kindly on a husband who lets his pregnant wife walk away without a word. Maren feels her daughter kick. She places her hand over the movement. What if he claims he didn't see me? Tova smiles, sharp and professional. That's where this footage becomes priceless. His eyes track directly to the doorway. Any lawyer will see it. Any judge will see it. The weight of it settles over the room. Corbin isn't just a cheater. He's a man who watched his wife's heartbreak and decided his comfort mattered more than her pain. There's something else, Tova says carefully. I've been looking at Alina's situation. I think we should bring her into this not as an enemy, but as a witness. Maybe even an ally. Maren's first instinct is to refuse. The idea of sitting across from the woman Corbin chose feels impossible. But then she remembers the baby in that hospital room. Innocent. Caught in the same web of lies. What would that look like? Maren asks. A conversation. Controlled. Neutral ground. We show her the receipts, the money trail, the timeline. Let her see who Corbin really is. What's worse? A partner who makes one horrible mistake, or one who doubles down after being caught? Tell me which one you could never forgive. On paper, the other woman wasn't a villain. She was another line item in Corbin's budget of lies. Back in Seattle, Maren and Rhea spread printouts across the coffee table. City lights flicker outside the windows. Inside, the documents tell a story Maren is only beginning to understand. Tova sent over everything she could find on Alina Reeves. Age 29. Pediatric nurse. Moved to Houston 3 years ago from Miami. Current address. The luxury high-rise Corbin has been paying for. Look at these payment memos, Maren says, pointing to bank transfers. For your new dress. For our weekend. Baby's first crib. Her voice catches. These aren't affair notes. These sound like a relationship. Rhea nods slowly. Which means she probably doesn't know about you. Not the real you anyway. More documents reveal the pattern. Corbin paid Alina's rent through accounts labeled consulting fees. He bought her jewelry shipped to her workplace. He covered medical bills for the pregnancy under a separate insurance policy Maren never knew existed. He didn't just cheat, Maren says quietly. He built her a whole life. With my money. One document stands out. A lease application for Alina's apartment. Under emergency contact, Corbin listed himself. Under relationship status, he wrote, engaged. Engaged. Maren reads those affectionate memos again and can't help but remember when Corbin used to leave her similar notes. Back when money was tighter and he'd slide his hands under her shirt while whispering about saving up for something special. Those gestures felt unique, personal. Now she knows they were recycled. Do you think she knows he's married? Rhea asks. I think he told her some version of the truth, Maren replies. Enough to keep her from looking too close. Maybe that he's separated. Maybe that his wife is awful. Whatever kept her from asking the right questions. Tova appears on the laptop screen via video call. I've been digging into Corbin's story to Alina. Based on what I'm finding, social media, messages I've accessed through legal channels. He told her his wife was a cold, controlling heiress who refused to let him access family money. Maren's stomach drops. He told her about my money? A twisted version. He painted himself as the victim of a loveless marriage to a woman who kept him broke and powerless. The irony burns. He used pieces of the truth, Maren's hidden wealth, her quiet nature, and weaponized them into a lie that made him the hero of his own story. I want to meet her, Maren says suddenly. Rhea and Tova exchange glances. Are you sure? Tova asks. She deserves to know who she's really dealing with, and I need to look her in the eye. Do you automatically blame the other woman? Or do you think the person in the relationship carries more responsibility? Be honest in the comments. Most wives would shout at the mistress. Maren invited her to coffee. The cafe sits in a quiet corner of Manhattan. Neutral territory. White marble tables, soft jazz playing, the kind of place where serious conversations happen in low voices. Tova arranged the meeting carefully. Alina was in town for a pediatric training conference. The invitation came through a lawyer's office, formal and vague enough not to scare her off. Maren arrives first. She chose a simple navy dress that shows her pregnancy clearly. No makeup, no jewelry except small earrings. She wants to look real, not threatening. When Alina walks in, Maren recognizes her immediately from the hospital. Dark hair pulled back, tired eyes, a stroller beside her with the baby sleeping inside. Alina sits down slowly, cautious. I don't understand why we're meeting. I wanted to talk, Maren says calmly. Woman to woman. About what? About Corbin. Alina's face shifts, confusion, then defensiveness. Look, I know this is awkward, but he told me you two were separated. That you kicked him out. That he's been trying to finalize things but you won't sign. Maren absorbs this. Is that what he said? Yes. He said you married him for appearances. That you come from money and never let him forget it. That you wanted control over everything. Under the table, Maren's hand tightens on her own thigh. She forces herself to stay calm. Did he mention I'm pregnant? Alina blinks. He said you weren't interested in having kids. That it was one of the reasons things fell apart. The lies are so smooth, so detailed. Corbin didn't just cheat. He created an entire alternate reality where he was the victim and Maren was the villain. When did you two meet? Maren asks. About 2 years ago, at a hospital fundraiser. He was charming, funny. He said he was going through a divorce and needed someone who understood what real work felt like. Maren listens to Alina describe their relationship. Nights in the Houston apartment. Weekend trips to the coast. Corbin cooking shirtless in the kitchen, kissing her while chopping vegetables. Every detail hits like a knife because Maren remembers him doing the exact same things with her. I need to tell you something, Maren says quietly. My name is Maren Kincaid Harwood. I'm Corbin's wife, not his ex-wife, his current, legal wife. And I'm 7 months pregnant with his daughter. Alina's hand freezes on her coffee cup. Steam rises between them. That's not possible, Alina whispers. Maren pulls out her phone. She shows Alina their wedding photo, bank statements, text messages, medical records with both their names. He's been lying to both of us, Maren says, and I think you deserve to know the truth. If you sat across from the person your partner cheated with, would you tell them everything or let them keep believing a lie? What would you do? In Corbin's version, he was the victim of the woman sitting across from Alina right now. Alina stares at the documents spread across the cafe table. Her face cycles through emotions. Shock, denial, anger, grief. The baby stirs in the stroller beside her, making soft noises. I don't understand, Alina says, voice shaking. He showed me divorce papers. He said it was almost final. He said you refused to let go. Those papers don't exist, Maren replies gently. We're still married. I only found out about you when I saw you at the hospital. I watched him kiss your forehead while you held your son. That's when I knew. Alina covers her mouth. Tears start falling. Oh my God. Oh my God. I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. I believe you. And Maren does. She can see it in Alina's face. The same shock and betrayal she felt standing in that hospital doorway. They're not enemies. They're both casualties of the same man's lies. Maren pulls up more screenshots on her phone. Bank transfers paying for Alina's rent. Jewelry purchases. The timeline of charges that overlap with Maren's own pregnancy milestones. He used joint accounts I set up, Maren explains. Money I put in for groceries and bills. He spent it on you. On trips. On building a whole second life. Alina scrolls through the evidence, her expression hardening with each swipe. He told me he was a self-made guy, that everything he built from nothing, that his wife came from money and never appreciated his hustle. He took pieces of the truth and twisted them, Maren says. I do come from money. I hid it from him because I wanted him to love me for me, not for my family name. He used that against me with you. The intensity of the moment feels almost physical. 2 women, both pregnant by the same man, both lied to, both used. Maren feels her daughter move inside her as she lays out the last piece of evidence. Screenshots of messages Corbin sent planning future trips while both women were pregnant. "What do you want from me?" Alina asks, wiping her eyes. "The truth," Maren says. "I need to know what he told you, what he promised, when things happened. And I need to know if you're willing to help me make sure he can't do this to anyone else." Alina reaches for her phone. Her hands shake as she scrolls through her messages. She stops on one from 3 months ago, right around the time Maren entered her 3rd trimester. "He wrote this after I told him I was nervous about being a single mom," Alina says, turning the screen toward Maren. "Look what he said." Maren reads, "You won't be single for long. I'll be free before our boy's 1st birthday. Then it's just us. I promise." Would you trust the wife in this situation? Or would you still doubt her? How much proof would you need to believe you'd been lied to for years? 2 women, 1 liar, and a baby asleep between them. This was no longer a love triangle. It was a case. The hotel conference room feels sterile. White walls, a long table, chairs that don't quite match. Alina's stroller sits in the corner, her son sleeping peacefully while his mother's world turns upside down. Maren and Alina sit across from each other, files spread between them. Tova joins via laptop screen, her face sharp and focused. "We need to establish a timeline," Tova says. "When did Corbin tell you about his marriage?" Alina wipes her eyes. "First date. He said he was separated, that his wife refused to sign papers because she wanted to control him through money. He made it sound like he'd been trying to leave for over a year." Maren pulls out her phone. "What month was your first date?" "March. 2 years ago." Maren scrolls through her photos. She stops on one and turns the screen toward Alina. It shows Maren and Corbin at a beach in Galveston. His arms wrapped around her from behind, her head tilted back against his chest. The timestamp reads April, 1 month after Corbin's supposed first date with Alina. "We went on vacation that spring," Maren says quietly. "He told me he was finally ready to start trying for a baby." Alina's face crumples. "He took me to Miami that same month. Said it was the first real vacation he'd had in years because his wife never wanted to travel." Tova starts typing. "I need exact dates. Trips, purchases, important conversations. Everything." They spend the next hour comparing notes. Hotel stays, restaurant reservations. The night Corbin proposed to Alina with a ring Maren's joint account paid for. The weekend he promised Maren they'd start looking at bigger houses. Every revelation cuts deeper than the last. "Look at this," Alina says, pulling up her calendar. "He told me he had to visit his sick mother in Dallas for a week last September." Maren shakes her head. "His mother lives in Austin and she's healthy. That was the week we found out I was pregnant. He took me to this little bed and breakfast to celebrate." The dates line up with sickening precision. The week Maren conceived was the same week Corbin first kissed Alina in a Miami hotel pool. Alina goes pale. She stands up quickly, one hand on her stomach like she might be sick. "I need a minute." Maren understands. She felt the same way looking at the financial records. That physical shock when you realize how deep the lies go. When Alina returns, her face is harder, more determined. "What do you need from me?" she asks. Tova leans forward on the screen. Testimony. Messages. Proof that he lied about his marital status. Proof that he used Maren's money to support your relationship. If we can show a pattern of fraud and deception, it strengthens Maren's case for asset protection and custody. "And what about my son?" Alina asks. "If Corbin loses everything, how do I know he'll still support him?" "That's why we're writing protections into the separation agreement," Maren says. "Child support for both kids. Non-negotiable. He doesn't get to walk away from either of them." Alina looks at Maren with something close to wonder. "Why would you care what happens to my son?" "Because none of this is his fault. And if I let Corbin destroy you financially, I'm no better than he is." The 2 women sit in that truth for a moment. Not friends. Not enemies. Something else entirely. Tova breaks the silence. "I have a proposal. We stage one controlled encounter in Houston. Cameras, lawyers, documentation. We confront him together and make him face what he's done. Could you ever work with the person your partner cheated with to bring the truth out? Or is that a line you'd never cross? The city where he built his lies was about to host his reckoning. Maren's plane touches down at Houston Hobby just after sunset. The skyline glows orange and purple in the distance. She used to love this view. Now it just reminds her of everything she's about to face. She wheels her small suitcase through the airport, fingertips brushing her stomach. Her daughter has been active all day, like she senses the tension. "We're okay," Maren whispers. "We're going to be okay." The hotel Tova booked sits in downtown, neutral territory away from the townhouse Maren used to call home. The lobby is busy with Saturday night crowds. Couples checking in for weekend getaways. Business travelers grabbing drinks at the bar. Maren passes a young couple laughing over their luggage. The woman is pregnant, maybe 5 months along. Her partner keeps touching her belly, saying something that makes her smile. Maren looks away. In her room, she unpacks slowly. The local legal team Tova coordinated sent over documents that now sit on the desk. Custody proposals. Asset freezes. A timeline of Corbin's lies laid out in black and white. She showers, changes into comfortable clothes, and stands at the window looking out at the city. Somewhere out there is the townhouse where she thought they were building a life. Somewhere is the funeral home where they first met. The cheap motel where they spent their first night together, tearing at each other's clothes like the world outside didn't exist. Houston holds every memory of their relationship. The good, the bad, and everything that turned out to be a lie. Her phone buzzes. A text from Tova. "Team is ready. Tomorrow at 2. Maren types back, "Understood." Another buzz. This time it's a notification from social media. She almost ignores it, but the name catches her eye. Corbin has posted again. She opens the app. There he is, smiling at a restaurant table with 3 friends. The caption reads, "Good food, better company. Blessed beyond measure. Hashtag Houston Strong, hashtag Building Empires." Maren checks the location tag. The restaurant is 10 minutes from her hotel. Her first instinct is rage. He's out celebrating while she's pregnant and alone, dealing with the wreckage of his choices. But then the rage cools into something sharper. He has no idea she's in Houston. He thinks she's still in Seattle, hiding. He thinks he's won by staying silent. Maren screenshots the post and forwards it to Tova with one line, "Change of plans. I'm going there tonight." Within seconds, her phone rings. "Are you sure?" Tova asks. "He wants to play games. Let's play. Give me 20 minutes to position the team." Maren hangs up and looks at herself in the mirror. She chooses a simple black dress that shows her pregnancy clearly. No jewelry. Hair down. She wants to look exactly like who she is, a woman who's done hiding. She grabs her coat and heads for the elevator. The couple she saw earlier is still in the lobby, now at the bar sharing appetizers. The pregnant woman throws her head back laughing at something her partner said. Maren walks past them and out into the Houston night. Have you ever gone back to the place where a relationship started after it ended? Did it feel healing or haunting? This time when she walked toward him, she wasn't alone. She had the truth, the law, and a silent witness watching every move. The restaurant sits on a corner with floor-to-ceiling windows that let everyone inside see out and everyone outside see in. Low lighting, the kind of place Corbin always loved because it made him feel successful. Maren pauses outside. Through the glass, she can see him at a table near the back. 4 men in business casual, laughing over drinks. Corbin is mid-story, hands gesturing, that smile on his face that used to make her feel like the luckiest woman alive. Her phone vibrates. A text from Tova. 2 observers inside. 1 across the street. Recording audio. You're covered. Maren takes a breath and walks in. The hostess greets her with a smile. Table for 1? I'm meeting someone, Maren says, already moving past her. She walks through the restaurant slowly. Other diners glance up, then back to their meals. She's just another customer. Nobody knows what's about to happen. Corbin doesn't see her at first. He's too busy talking. Then one of his friends looks up, notices Maren, and his expression shifts. He nudges Corbin. Corbin turns. For one split second, every emotion crosses his face. Shock, fear, guilt. Then he masks it with something that tries to look like surprise and concern. Maren, he half stands. What are you doing here? She stops at the end of the table. Her hands rest on her belly, protective and deliberate. The other men at the table have gone silent, sensing they're in the middle of something private. I could ask you the same thing, Maren says calmly. I thought you'd be busy with your new family. One of the men clears his throat. We should probably stay. Maren interrupts. You should hear this. You should know who you're drinking with. Corbin's jaw tightens. Mar, this isn't the place. Really? Because you chose this place. You tagged it on social media. You wanted everyone to see how blessed you are. The muscle memory is strong. Years of date nights in places like this. His hand always found her thigh under the table. His foot hooked around her ankle. Small touches that made her feel connected to him even in public. Tonight, she stays just out of reach. The distance between them speaks louder than any words. We should talk privately, Corbin says, his voice dropping. We both know you saw me at the hospital. Maren says, loud enough that nearby tables can hear. Labor room 7. You looked right at me while you were with her. His face goes white. The men at his table exchange looks. One of them reaches for his wallet like he's planning a quick exit. I don't know what you're talking about, Corbin says, but his voice shakes. Security footage says otherwise. Maren lets that sink in. You knew I was there. You watched me see everything. And you chose to keep going like I didn't matter. Silence at the table. The restaurant noise continues around them. Clinking glasses, low conversations. But their corner has gone completely still. Meet me in 1 hour, Maren says. There's a law office 2 blocks north. Tova will be there. You remember Tova, right? My family's attorney. Corbin's expression shifts. Now he's starting to understand. Maren leans close enough that only he can hear. 1 hour, Corbin. Or everything goes public. The accounts. The footage. All of it. She straightens, gives his friends a polite nod, and walks out. Behind her, she doesn't hear a single word from that table. Just shocked silence. If you had one public moment to confront a partner who betrayed you, would you do it quietly or blow everything up? How would you play it? The last time they were alone, they were in bed. Tonight, they were in a conference room with his future on the line. The law office is small, local, connected to Tova's network. Conference room on the 2nd floor. Big table. Legal pads stacked neatly. A glass of water sits in front of an empty chair, sweating in the air conditioning. Maren arrives first. She sits facing the door, Tova beside her. A young associate from the local firm sits in the corner with a laptop. He'll try to charm you first, Tova says quietly. Then anger when that doesn't work. Then bargaining. Don't let him pull you into old patterns. Maren nods. Her hands are steady. Her heart is calm. Corbin arrives exactly 1 hour later. The door opens and there he is. Same face, same build, but somehow he looks smaller than she remembers. He stops when he sees Tova. I thought we were meeting privately. This is private, Tova says. Sit down. He does slowly. His eyes keep moving between Maren and Tova like he's trying to figure out the play. What is this? He asks. Tova slides a folder across the table. Open it. Corbin flips through the pages. Bank statements. Transfer records. Screenshots of texts. Photos of him with Alina. The security footage from the hospital printed frame by frame. His jaw clenches. Where did you get this? That's not the question you should be asking, Tova replies. The question is how fast this can go away, or how public it needs to become. Corbin looks at Maren. He tries to soften his expression. Baby, I know this looks bad. Don't. Maren cuts him off. Don't call me that. Don't try to explain. Just listen. He leans back, arms crossed. Defensive now. Tova continues. You've been using joint accounts funded primarily by Maren to support at least one other relationship. You've lied about your marital status. You've created financial obligations using money that wasn't yours to spend. We're married, Corbin says. Community property. That money is as much mine as. Wrong. Tova taps another document. The prenup you insisted on says otherwise. You acknowledged Maren as financially independent. You waived claims to assets she brought into the marriage, which means every dollar you spent from those accounts is subject to legal challenge. Corbin's confidence starts to crack. You can't be serious. I've frozen the accounts as of 2 hours ago, Tova says. You'll notice if you try to use any cards tonight. He goes pale. You can't do that. I already did. He turns to Maren, voice shifting to something softer. Desperate. Mar, please. We can work this out. We've been together 5 years. We have a baby on the way. You can't just. You have 2 babies, Maren corrects. Alina's son, our daughter. Both your responsibility. That's different. How? Corbin stands up suddenly, pacing. This is insane. You disappear for weeks, you freeze me out, and now you ambush me with lawyers? What do you want from me? Honestly, Maren says, I wanted to understand why, but I don't think you even know. He tries to move closer, reaches for her cheek like he used to do in their bedroom after fights. That familiar gesture meant to soften her, to pull her back into his orbit. Maren steps back. The air between them is thick with everything they used to be and everything they'll never be again. Don't touch me, she says quietly. Tova slides one last document toward him. Formal notice of account freezes. Drafted separation agreement. You have 48 hours to review with your own counsel. And if I refuse, then we go public. The footage, the financial records, all of it. And you lose any chance at a reasonable settlement. Corbin's hands shake as he picks up the papers. He flips through them, face darkening with every page. This is robbery, he mutters. No, Maren says. This is consequences. Do you think people like Corbin are truly sorry when they're caught, or just sorry they lost control? She wasn't asking. She was offering him the least painful version of his own consequences. Corbin slams the separation agreement onto the table. This is a joke, right? Tova remains calm. It's the most generous offer you're going to get. Generous. His voice rises. She gets the townhouse, her family assets are protected. I pay child support for both kids, and I'm locked out of everything we built together? You didn't build it together, Maren says. You spent my money without telling me and called it partnership. He points at the document. This section about Alina's son. You want me to agree to support obligations that protect him even if... What does this even mean? It means if you try to walk away from financial responsibility for either child, the agreement has built-in enforcement mechanisms. Tova explains. Wage garnishment, asset liens, criminal fraud charges if you hide income. Corbin's face goes red. You're treating me like a criminal. You committed fraud, Tova says simply. Maren could press charges. She's choosing not to. This agreement is your alternative. He turns to Maren. You'd really do that? Send me to jail? I'd really protect my daughter and Alina's son. Whether that includes you or not is up to you. Corbin sits down hard. His hands run through his hair. For a moment, he looks genuinely lost. I didn't mean for it to happen this way. How did you mean for it to happen? Maren asks. I don't know. Things got complicated. You made them complicated. He looks up at her. One last attempt at connection. Remember that motel? That first night? You said I made you feel like you could be yourself. Like you didn't have to be the rich girl or the perfect daughter. Just you. Maren feels the memory like a physical touch. The way they'd moved together. The way he'd whispered her name like it was sacred. You fought the world together, he'd said, and she'd believed him. I remember, she says quietly. I also remember you describing that exact moment to Alina at some point, probably. Because that's what you do. You recycle moments. Recycle words. Make everyone feel special with the same script. He flinches. Sign the agreement, Maren says. Take the deal. Be a father to both your kids. Or walk away and face what comes next. Corbin stares at the papers. His jaw works like he's chewing on words he can't spit out. I need time, he finally says. You have 48 hours, Tova repeats. After that, the offer changes. And not in your favor. He shoves the folder into his bag and stands. At the door, he turns back one more time. Did you ever really love me? Or was I always just some project to you? Maren meets his eyes. I loved you enough to hide who I was so you could feel like the hero. But you couldn't even stay faithful to the woman you thought I was. He leaves without another word. The door clicks shut. Maren exhales slowly. Her hands are shaking now that it's over. He won't sign, she says. He will, Tova replies. He doesn't have a choice. For hours later, Maren's phone lights up with alerts. A local gossip site has posted a new story. The headline reads, Houston real estate player's secret life. Sources say Kincaid Heiress files for divorce amid shocking betrayal. Below it, an anonymous source describes Corbin as hardworking and Maren as a cold, controlling rich girl who never appreciated him. He chose war. Would you ever protect the children that came from an affair, or would you leave that to their parents? Be honest. He thought public pity would save him. He forgot who controlled the real narrative. Maren wakes up in her Houston hotel room to 17 text notifications. The first one is from Rhea. Check HoustonBuzz.com. Now, she opens her laptop. The gossip site loads slowly, banner ads flashing across the top. Then she sees it. Houston real estate player's secret life. Sources say Kincaid Heiress files for divorce amid shocking betrayal. The article paints Corbin as a hardworking man who married into wealth and was never accepted by his cold, controlling wife. Anonymous sources describe Maren as a spoiled tech heiress who refused to support her husband's business dreams and kept him on a tight financial leash. One quote reads, He tried everything to make that marriage work, but she was more interested in her trust fund than in building a life together. Maren reads it twice. Her coffee goes cold beside her. Her phone rings. Tova. Don't respond yet, Tova says immediately. We're drafting a statement. Rhea's team is pulling together a response that focuses on facts, not emotion. He's trying to spin this, Maren says. Of course he is. Men like Corbin always play the victim when they're caught. But we have documentation, bank records, security footage, Alina's testimony. The truth isn't on his side. Maren scrolls through social media. Corbin's supporters are already rallying. Comments flood in about gold diggers and women who trap men with money. A few people defend Maren, but they're drowned out by the noise. Photos of her and Corbin from happier times circulate online. One shows them at a charity event 2 years ago, his arm around her waist, both of them smiling. Someone captioned it, She had everything and still wasn't happy. Maren thinks about the intimate photos she has. Pictures Corbin took of her in their bedroom. Messages he sent late at night. Evidence of the passion they shared before everything went wrong. She could leak them if she wanted. Could show the world exactly how much she gave to that marriage. Could burn his reputation to the ground with proof of how he used her. But what would that solve? Maren? Tova's voice pulls her back. What are you thinking? I'm thinking revenge would feel good for about 5 minutes. Then I'd just be someone who played his game. So we go surgical. Facts only. No emotion. We release a statement acknowledging the separation, confirming your pregnancy, and noting that all financial and custody matters are being handled through appropriate legal channels. That's it. That's enough. The people who matter, the judge, the lawyers, anyone who actually influences the outcome, they'll see the real evidence. The court of public opinion doesn't matter as much as you think. Maren closes the laptop. She looks out at Houston stretching below her hotel window. Somewhere out there, Corbin is probably feeling pretty good about his smear campaign. Probably thinks he's winning. He has no idea what's coming. Her phone buzzes again. This time it's a screenshot from Alina. A text from Corbin. Everything is blowing up. The heiress is trying to destroy me. I need you on my side right now. Please. Alina's response, sent an hour ago. You should talk to your wife. Maren smiles for the first time all morning. When a breakup goes public, do you think people should share receipts? Or keep it private no matter what? What would you do in her place? For the first time, all three adults in this mess agreed on one thing. The kids would not be collateral damage. Alina's high-rise apartment looks different in daylight. Floor-to-ceiling windows show downtown Houston spread out below. The playroom where they meet has bright colors everywhere. Foam mats, toy bins, a small slide in the corner. Cartoon sounds play faintly from a tablet propped on the coffee table. Alina's son gurgles in his bouncer, oblivious to the tension filling the room. Maren sits across from Alina. Between them, legal documents cover the coffee table. Tova joins via laptop, her face sharp and focused on the screen. We need to establish terms that protect both children, Tova says. Not just yours, Maren. Both of them. Alina shifts uncomfortably. I still don't understand why you'd care what happens to my son. Maren looks at the baby. He has Corbin's nose, his chin. Because he didn't ask to be born into this. And if I let Corbin walk away from his responsibilities to you, what's to stop him from doing the same to our daughter someday? Most women in your position would want me to suffer. I'm not most women, and suffering doesn't pay for diapers or doctor visits. Tova pulls up a document on screen. Here's what we're proposing. Child support obligations for both children, non-negotiable and enforceable through wage garnishment if necessary. Medical coverage for both. Education funds. If Corbin tries to hide assets or income, there are criminal penalties attached. Alina reads through the terms slowly. This is more protection than I thought I'd get. That's the point, Maren says. He doesn't get to choose which kid matters based on which relationship is convenient. They spend the next hour going over details, visitation schedules, holiday arrangements, who gets the kids on birthdays. The conversation is awkward. Two women planning custody for children fathered by the same man, trying to be practical when everything feels personal. There's something I need to tell you, Alina says quietly. She glances at her son, then back to Maren. Last month, Corbin kissed our son's forehead and swore he'd never be like his own father. He said his dad walked out when he was 8 and he'd die before doing that to his own kid. The intimacy of that broken promise hangs heavy between them. Maren thinks about all the times Corbin talked about being a better man than his father. How he made that part of his identity. How he used that story to justify his ambition, his drive, his need to build something from nothing. He became exactly what he said he'd never be. I have something too, Maren admits. 2 weeks before I found you at the hospital, Corbin and I were lying in bed. He put his hand on my belly and said our daughter would never doubt she was wanted. That she'd grow up knowing both her parents loved her more than anything. Alina's eyes fill. How does someone say things like that and mean none of it? I don't think he meant to lie, Maren says. I think he believed it when he said it. Then he just did it anyway. Tova interrupts gently. We need to finish this. Corbin's lawyer called this morning. He's requesting another meeting. Says he's ready to sign. Do you believe him? Alina asks. I believe he's running out of options, Tova replies. The account freezes are hurting. The public attention is hurting. And now that you two are working together instead of fighting, he can't play you against each other anymore. Maren stands and walks to the window. Her daughter moves inside her. Strong kicks that make her catch her breath. What happens after he signs? Do we just co-parent forever? See each other at school events and birthday parties? That's up to all three of you, Tova says. But the legal framework protects the kids no matter what the adults decide. Alina joins Maren at the window. They stand side by side, both pregnant with the same man's children, both trying to build something stable out of ruins. I used to hate you, Alina says softly, when I thought you were the cold wife keeping him from being happy. Now I just feel sorry for both of us. Don't, Maren replies. We're not victims anymore. We're two women who figured out the truth and refused to let him get away with it. Should Maren care what happens to the child born from the affair? Or is that asking too much of her? Where's your line? They went back to the place where everything shattered, but this time she chose the ending. The hospital looks exactly the same. White walls, bright lights, the smell of antiseptic and floor cleaner. Maren steps off the elevator onto the same floor where she stood in that doorway weeks ago, watching her world end. Today she walks past labor room 7 without stopping. Her shoulders are back. Her head is high. The legal folder in her hand feels solid and final. The conference room Tova arranged sits at the end of the hallway. Neutral territory inside the hospital complex. Far enough from the maternity ward to feel removed but close enough to be symbolic. Corbin is already there when Maren walks in. He looks different. Thinner. Tired. His shirt isn't as crisp as usual. Dark circles shadow his eyes. Tova sits at the head of the table, documents spread in front of her. A notary waits in the corner, ready to make it official. Sit, Tova says to Corbin. It's not a request. Maren takes the chair across from him. For a moment, neither of them speaks. The silence is thick with memory. Every fight, every promise, every lie that brought them to this room. I didn't think you'd actually come back here, Corbin says finally. I'm not the same person who ran away from that doorway, Maren replies. He looks at her belly. How's the baby? Strong. Healthy. She kicks all the time. Good. He swallows hard. That's good. Tova slides the separation agreement across the table. The pages are thick, bound with a black clip. Official. Final. Everything we discussed is in here. Child support for both children. Asset division. Custody arrangements. Sign at every marked tab. Corbin flips through slowly. His hands shake slightly. He stops on one page, reads it twice, then looks up at Maren. You're really giving me visitation? After everything. I'm giving our daughter a father, Maren corrects. Whether you're a good one is up to you. A baby cries somewhere down the hallway. The sound echoes through the conference room door. Maren feels a physical memory run through her body. Standing in that doorway, hearing Alina's newborn cry, watching Corbin lean over them both like they were his whole world. It doesn't hurt anymore. The memory is there, but it's lost its power. She's moved past the moment when it could destroy her. Why here? Corbin asks. Why did you want to do this in the hospital? Because this is where I lost myself, Maren says. And I wanted to be here when I got myself back. He stares at her like he's seeing someone he doesn't recognize. You're different. You made me different. Corbin picks up the pen. It hovers over the first signature line. He looks at Maren one more time. Did you ever really love me? Or was I just a project to you? Some guy you thought you could fix or save or turn into something? The question sits between them, heavy and honest. Maren thinks about the funeral where they met, the cheap motel where they first made love, the townhouse where they built a life. Every moment that felt real and true until it wasn't. I loved you, she says quietly. I loved the version of you that existed when it was just us. Before the lies. Before you decided one life wasn't enough. But that version either never existed or you killed it yourself. So now I'm choosing to love my daughter more than I love the memory of who you used to be. Corbin's jaw tightens. He looks down at the papers. Then he signs, page after page. His signature appears at every marked tab, binding him legally to the promises he broke emotionally. The pen scratches across paper. The notary watches carefully, ready to stamp and seal. When it's done, Tova collects the documents. This is now a legal separation agreement with binding custody and financial obligations. Violation of any terms will result in penalties up to and including criminal charges. Corbin stands slowly. He reaches for his jacket, fumbles with the buttons. At the door, he stops, turns back. I'm sorry, he says. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. Maren meets his eyes. It's not worth much, but it's a start. He leaves. The door closes behind him with a quiet click. Maren exhales. Her hands are steady. Her heart is calm. On the table between where they sat, Her old wedding ring lies beside the folder. She'd taken it off weeks ago. Now she picks it up one last time, feels its weight, remembers what it used to mean. If you had to return to the exact spot where your heart broke to close the chapter, could you do it? He thought love was the question. She knew dignity was the real issue. The hospital parking garage is quiet in the late afternoon. Maren stands beside her rental car, breathing in the warm Houston air. Her phone shows 3 new messages, but she ignores them for now. Behind her, footsteps echo. She turns. Alina approaches slowly, her son in a carrier strapped to her chest. They'd agreed to meet after the signing. One final conversation before they all moved forward into whatever came next. Is it done? Alina asks. It's done. They stand together in the concrete structure, 2 women connected by the worst choice one man made. Around them, cars come and go. People rush to appointments, to emergencies, to regular life. Nobody notices the quiet moment happening in the shadows. What did he say? Alina asks. He asked if I ever really loved him. What did you tell him? Maren looks out at the Houston skyline visible through the garage opening. The sun is starting to set, painting everything orange and gold. I told him the truth, that I loved who I thought he was. But that love isn't enough when it costs you your dignity. Alina shifts the baby carrier. I keep wondering if he ever loved me, or if I was just convenient, someone who didn't know enough to question his stories. I think he loved the idea of us, Maren says. Both of us. He loved feeling wanted and needed. He just didn't love us enough to choose honesty over comfort. They're quiet for a moment. The baby makes soft noises, content and unaware. I have something for you, Maren says. She reaches into her pocket and pulls out her old wedding ring. The band catches the fading light. Give this to your son when he's old enough to understand. Tell him it's a reminder that love means making hard choices, not easy ones. Alina takes the ring slowly. Why my son? Because your daughter will get the lesson from watching you, Maren says. She'll see her mother refuse to accept less than she deserves. She'll grow up knowing that strength looks like walking away when someone doesn't treat you right. Your son needs a different lesson. He needs to know what happens when you make the choices his father made. A cautionary tale, not a legacy. Alina whispers, echoing the words from the outline. Exactly. Alina closes her hand around the ring. I'm scared, she admits. Scared of doing this alone. Scared he'll disappear on us. Scared I won't be enough. You will be, Maren says. Not because you're perfect, but because you're willing to do the hard work. That's more than he ever gave either of us. A car horn honks somewhere below. Real life pushing in on their moment. Will you be okay? Alina asks. Going back to Seattle. Starting over. Raising a baby by yourself? Maren places her hand on her belly. Her daughter responds with a strong kick. I won't be by myself. I have my mom, my family's support, resources, and I'm not the same person I was when I walked into that hospital room. I'm stronger now, clear about what I want and what I won't accept. I wish we'd met differently, Alina says. Me too, but we didn't. So instead we get to be 2 women who refused to let one man's lies define the rest of our lives. They hug awkwardly, carefully, aware of their pregnant bellies and the strangeness of the bond between them. It's not friendship. It's something else. A shared survival, a mutual understanding that sometimes the person who hurts you creates connections you never expected. When they separate, Alina walks toward her car. She turns back once. If you're ever in Houston and need anything, same if you're in Seattle, Maren finishes. They won't see each other often. Maybe not ever again after the legal dust settles. But they'll know. They'll both know they faced the worst together and came out on the other side. Maren drives out of the garage as the sun sets fully. The city lights start to flicker on. Houston looks different now, not smaller but less powerful. It's just a place. Not a prison. Not a graveyard for her broken dreams. Just a place she used to live. Can you love someone and still choose to walk away completely? Have you ever done it? The man who thought he held all the power lost a wife, a reputation, and control. The woman he underestimated gained something he never truly offered: peace. 8 months later. The nursery in Ria's Seattle condo overlooks Elliott Bay. Morning light streams through windows, catching on the mobile hanging above the crib. Maren stands holding her daughter, Elena, watching boats move across the water. Elena has Maren's eyes and Corbin's chin. She's healthy, strong, with lungs that let everyone know when she's hungry or tired or just wants attention. Maren has never been so exhausted or so completely happy. She's got your stubbornness, Ria says from the doorway. She holds 2 cups of coffee. Refused to sleep until exactly 3 this morning. And your business sense, Maren replies, taking the coffee gratefully. She knows exactly how to negotiate for what she wants. They laugh quietly. The relationship between Maren and her mother has shifted over these months. Less distant, more real. Ria stepped in when Maren needed her, and Maren let her. Something she couldn't have done a year ago. On the shelf beside the crib sits a framed photo. Ria, Maren, and baby Elena at the hospital the day she was born. Beside it, a small plaque reads, "The Maren Kincaid Foundation, supporting women in financial transition." The foundation started small, a quiet fund for women blindsided by financial betrayal during divorce or separation. Legal fees covered, emergency housing, career training, the things Maren had access to because of her last name and resources, now available to women who had neither. The foundation launched 3 months ago. Already they've helped 47 women. The goal is 500 by year's end. You're doing good work, Ria says, watching Maren's expression as she looks at the plaque. I'm doing necessary work. There's a difference. Elena fusses, and Maren shifts her gently. The baby settles against her mother's chest, tiny fingers curling around Maren's shirt. Downstairs, Maren's phone buzzes. She ignores it for now. Work can wait. The world can wait. Right now, this moment, coffee, her mother's quiet presence, her daughter breathing against her chest. This is enough. Later, after Elena is fed and sleeping, Maren checks her messages. Most are work-related. Grant proposals, meeting requests. One from Elena with a photo attached. Her son sitting up for the first time, grinning at the camera. He looks just like his dad. The message reads, "But hopefully he'll turn out better." Maren smiles and sends back a heart emoji. They text occasionally. Updates about the kids. Legal questions. Small connections that acknowledge their shared history without dwelling in it. The last message is from a number she doesn't recognize immediately. Then she remembers Marcus, the colleague from Manhattan. They'd met at a fundraiser last month when she was in town for foundation meetings. He'd asked thoughtful questions about her work, listened when she talked about Elena, never once made her feel like her past defined her future. "Still up for that dinner next time you're in town?" The message reads. "No pressure. Just thought it might be nice to talk to someone who thinks you're interesting for reasons that have nothing to do with gossip sites." Maren stares at the message for a long moment. Her first instinct is to say no, to keep her focus on Elena, on work, on building a life that doesn't need anyone else in it. But then she feels it. A slow, warm flutter in her chest that has nothing to do with panic or fear, just possibility, just the idea that maybe someday she could let someone in again. Someone who sees her clearly and still wants to know more. She types, "Next month. I'll let you know when I'm in town." She hits send before she can second-guess it. Outside the window, Seattle wakes up fully. Ferries cross the bay. Cars fill the streets. The world keeps moving, indifferent to the quiet revolution happening in this nursery overlooking the water. Maren used to think power was about being the richest person in the room or the most successful. Now she knows better. Power is walking away when someone treats you like you're disposable. Power is building something new from the wreckage of what broke you. Power is holding your daughter and knowing you chose her future over someone else's comfort. Corbin taught her one priceless lesson, though he never meant to. The real wealth was never in his name. It was in her ability to walk away before he spent the rest of her life, too. She kisses Elena's forehead, whispers promises about the woman she'll grow up to be. Strong, clear, unafraid to demand what she deserves. In Houston, Corbin is rebuilding his reputation one deal at a time. He pays his child support on time, the legal consequences make sure of that. He sees Elena twice a month. Whether he'll become the father she deserves remains to be seen. Maren stopped worrying about his choices. She only controls her own. And her choice is simple: peace over chaos, dignity over comfort, a quiet empire built on truth instead of lies. So tell me, if you were Maren, would you open your heart again after all this? Or would you stay solo and build your own world? Comment your answer. If the story pulled you in, hit like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs a reminder that the quiet one in the room might be the most powerful of all.